What's up, guys? I'm back today, and I will be bringing you a specific deck that I've been playing for quite a while now. I've always loved Cell Surge, and for the recent Cardmarket July Regional, I thought I'd bring back Cell Surge, and I saw that the hand destruction variant had been doing quite well, so I picked that up and I've been playing around with it, and it's actually incredibly strong. As you can see, I did get 17th, which, so close to the top, just bubbled out. Unfortunate, but it happens. But yeah, I figured, people might still want to see the deck regardless, because this deck's very strong. I don't think anything in this deck is likely to get hit on the ban list by the 17th. So, if you're looking for a new deck to pick up that, won't get hit, then this might be the one for you. So I'll give us a quick run through the deck, the ratios, and then I'll go through matchups on the day. So, of course, Cell Surge Leader, we know what he does. Just shoot as the top 5, you add one, you drop one. Really good in this deck, we utilize the drop area a lot. Surge, you put green and a yellow underneath, untap 2, draw 2, it's really good. The backside is definitely one of my favourite things about this deck. Main reason I've stuck with this leader through a lot of different variations of the deck. You've got 4 or less life, you've got 2 effects. One, you can KO one of your opponent's cards and then make them drop a card from hand at random, your choice. And then you've got a really powerful Summoning Sickness effect, where it's basically until the start of the Cell player's next turn, your opponent, any battle cards your opponent plays are played in rest mode, which is just disgustingly good at keeping you alive. Because of that, we don't actually need that many negates in this deck, which is one thing that you'll notice. But yeah, it's a super strong effect. And obviously, you can use it twice if you need to, 2 turns in a row to buy 2 extra turns realistically, depending on the matchup, of course. But yeah, super good leader, really good. Would recommend for anyone looking to try any sort of green or green-yellow deck. So we'll start off with the staples. 4 of this 9-drop Cell, which is basically your Self-Awakening and draw power of the deck. If you don't see these, you're having a bad time. You pick it up, you drop it, you put it in, it goes to your drop area, and it's kind of like a Saiyan Instinct. You can send it to the warp for free, and then you draw a card, and you can take up to 1 life. So you don't need to take a life, but for early game, it's really good. And of course, for Ribrianne, again, if you don't see this card sort of on curve, you're not going to have a great time with the hand destruction side of things. So definitely 4 and 4 of each. Need to see them, basically. Without these, you're going to have a rougher time than you could be having. Next up, we've got the super combos. We've got Giro, really good for any potential rivals. It's not the main idea of the deck, but it does work. More appropriate usage, getting Ribrians to the drop from your deck if you're missing them, or any of the other cards that we use in the drop area, like the Saiyan Instincts and the Android 13. And then I do run a 2-2 split of Giro and 18. I'm not completely sold on the 18. It's nice to have that sort of offensive option. So if your opponent's got maybe 1 or 2 cards in hand and you go for the final swing of the game and U18, they have to bottom deck 1 of them, and that could have been the combo piece that would have just got them out. So it's quite good. It's quite good. I'm not completely sold on it, but I've been a fan of Paragus for a long time. But no, I mean, I can definitely see the upsides of 18. And to be fair, 18 won me my last game of the day. So yeah, definitely a decent split. And if also if you need to, Giro is okay for your awakening condition, because you need a green and a yellow. There's not much yellow in this deck. There's a lot of multicolor, but not much yellow. So Unisons, Dark Broly. This, again, like the Ribrians, if you don't see this on curve, you're not going to have a good time. This is absolutely bread and butter. New Zamasu Eliminator, blue-yellow, absolutely a pain for this card. You just don't, you don't play into it, that's fine. So it's double strike. When its marker is removed by a non-keyword skill, your opponent drops a card. Really good. It's +2, also dropping a card. Well, you drop a card, then your opponent has to drop a card and KO a card. Really good hand destruction, especially if he sticks around, which he always does, because nobody ever gets rid of a 4 marker at the time, 20k double strike, if you get everything off that you should. So he'll always stick around. You need to see him on curve. I feel like if you run him at 4, it might be too clunky, but I have definitely been tempted to do that for the games that I've not seen him on turn 3. But with the leader top 5 searching, you can always add him when you need to. There's also a nice little irrelevant +0 at the bottom, which is basically you can take a marker off your opponent's unisons. It's pretty good. I didn't use it at all on Saturday. We also run 4 of Demigra. You know Demigra. Really good for Self-Awakening, really good sticky unison. It's basically your turn 1 play. If you don't play this on turn 1, you're not going to be doing much else. It helps keep control of the board and keep your opponent's unisons under control. One thing I will say in this deck is you really don't want to swing at your opponent unless it's with a critical, and we'll get to the criticals, don't worry. Or, well, unless you can swing and then make them drop the card that you give them to hand afterwards. So yeah, 4 Demigra, turn 1 play, ideal. And then, of course, 3 Frieza counterplays. You could definitely run it at 4. I only own 3, and I didn't feel like buying another one to flesh out a playset. So I had an SPR one, traded it off. So yeah, 3 Friezas, free play, counterplay, KO battle card when you've got Unison. Really good card. Next up, we have the Frieza package, the Frieza Xeno package. So we have Surprise Attack Frieza, the Parasitic Ball, and spoilers, and the Xeno Frieza. So Surprise Attack Frieza, when one of your opponent's cards is KO'd, so by this Frieza, or by attacking, by Demigra, by Dark Broly Unison, whatever it might be, you can play this guy from your hand for free. Critical swing, great card. Don't cost you any energy. When he comes down, you can use this ball underneath him. So activate main, you can put this ball underneath this Frieza and play out this guy from your deck or your hand. This is also a 5k combo if it needs to be, and it's got another use, which I'll tell you in just a minute. This 4-drop Frieza is a 15k double strike. He has an auto where when he's removed by a skill or KO'd, you can add back 1 green extra card that has an energy cost of 1 or less. So you can add back ball, you can add back your negates, which is good, it's useful. And then he's got his activate main, which is you put this card in the drop area, no cost, and then your opponent drops a card. And obviously triggers off of his own effect. So you can put him in the bin, add a ball back to hand, something like that. So it's quite a good package. It definitely came up more than I thought it would. I wasn't a fan of this much in testing, but it definitely got me a few games throughout the day. 4 surprise attacks is good. It might be a little much because they are 1+10Ks. It can be a bit clunky, but yeah, really good package for hand control. And it's easily splashable in any deck really because there's no leader requirements or anything like that. Next, we have some generic green cards, basically. We have the Demigra. So this pairs with the Dark Broly Unison, and it basically says, discard this card from your hand, and then knock a marker off of your Dark Broly Unison, or any Unison, but your Dark Broly Unison. That makes them drop a card because of Dark Broly, and then when you discard this, you can add one of those parasitic balls from your drop or your deck to your hand. So you kind of maintaining the hand advantage as they are losing theirs. Really good card, definitely needs it as a 4 of. As soon as you get Dark Broly down on the field, seeing this card is just free. It's free hand control, it's fantastic. So yeah, definitely a 4 of, definitely a great card. We've got a couple of, so let's say you're not having a good time, you don't see that Broly Unison on curve, we have a couple of Roses. Almost does the same thing. The triple attack is definitely meh. It doesn't come up often unless you're clearing Unisons. Really good in a blue matchup, obviously, because it's got Deflect. But yeah, it's just a drop 2, triple attack 15k. Could sometimes close you out games, but not often. Subpar to the Dark Broly Unison play. And then we do have 2 negates, like I say, not many, just 2. 2 shocking death balls. Sparking, you're very likely to have it in this deck because you're constantly picking one up and putting one down. You know, you just have to be careful playing around it, obviously, with sending stuff from your drop to your warp, like Ribs and, say, Instincts and the Cell 9 drop. Good 2 drop or less clear, just a staple, really. But, you know, because of our leader effect and things are searchable, like, you know, you can grab anything off the top 5 search from your leader. Only really need 2, and even then that's kind of pushing it. Yeah, and then we've got the Son Goku Power of Legend. So this is very similar to the Crit Frieza. where instead of if a card's KO'd, it comes down, it's if your opponent drops a card, comes down. So turn 2, you go to Ribrianne, you play this down, you swing, you've got 15k, free play critical. Really good. I've got unique, so you can't play, more than one at the same time. Then you got an activate main though, so this activate main you can definitely work around unique, where it basically says you can send this card to the warp, and then you can send one of your opponents 4 cost or less to the warp. So a nice bit of removal. It doesn't KO, so it doesn't really synergize with Frieza or anything. But for example, you'll swing with this guy, and if they've got something to remove, you warp him off, and then you make him drop another card, and then you can play another one down and swing again. Definitely a very strong MVP for the weekend. Really good card. Definitely a really good card. I wouldn't run it any more than 2, just because it's a black card, and colors are quite important in this deck. So next up, we have, coming towards the end here, we've got our kind of awakening options. So our yellows and green yellows. 2 Saiyan Instincts. Really good in those difficult matchups where you're not seeing stuff on curve. If it's turn 2, you don't have a rib. Hopefully you've seen a Saiyan Instincts, you pick it up, you drop it. Tap 2, draw 2. Really good card. It's good to use for surging with your leader, because you can surge, awaken with this, use the surge ability, put it in the drop, and then draw 2 if you need to. Same for the Dark Brawler. It's just everything that works with the drop is really good, because we have cards that need us to put our own cards in the drop, if that makes sense. So Dark Brawler, +2, drop this, you've got this in the drop, it's great. We've got the Android 13. Mission begins. Useful in the drop, useful for surge. You can arrival it in for 1 green for some board control. KO 2 of your opponent's cards, start of their turn. Really good card. Yeah, it's all about it, really. Kind of, if you need some yellow in the deck to awaken, and this is probably just one of the best green, yellow or green yellow options that you've got. And then we do run this as well. This Android 14 and 15. So you never play this because you don't charge yellow. But it's free arrival, basically. Free arrival, good for surge. You combo with it, you can arrival this guy if you need to. Not often that happens, but you still can. And yeah, it's good that it's a multicolor that doesn't clunk up your hand, if that makes sense, because there's no energy cost to combo with it, which is always good. An alternative to this, if you find you need that extra combo power for whatever reason, and you might not have a great hand size, is the Championship Pack 18. That's free combo when you're 5 cards or less, and that's a 1 + 10k rather than a 1 + 5k like this guy. So yep, those are our surges. And then finally, our 2 quote-unquote secret rares of the deck is Man on a Mission. This card is insanely good. If I ever saw this card, I won the game, no doubt. I might bump it up to 2, depending on what I can do with color ratios. Just free double strike crit is insane when your opponent already has no hand. It might be low on life. And then Heroine's Lineage, because you can throw this card in anything. I will probably take this out. It was nice to have. It didn't, people play around it now. It was nice when it first came out, but people play around it, so it's just kind of there because you've got it. And then, if you're doing a Saiyan Instincts to try draw pieces to help you survive, and you draw into this and you tapped out, it's kind of like, pretty garbage. But no, it's an alright option, but I honestly don't think you need it. So I might actually just take this out and put another one of these in. We'll see. Definitely taking a look at the deck and seeing what we can do to improve for next time. Matchups for the day. Right, yeah, so I'll go pretty quickly through these. Round 1, Mecha Frieza. I believe incredibly good Mecha Frieza player. I think he won the last Cardmarket Regionals at Berzerk. He cleaned me out, did really well. Saw all his Unite Assembles, really important in this matchup for him. Second round, opponent joined and then dropped straight after, as did most other people's opponents from what I was seeing. So that's a free win. Round 3, facing Shenron. They don't tend to plus too much in the hand, really, so just took his hand down, absolutely cleaned him out. One thing that both me and the Sin player acknowledged is that if they'd have played the 8-drop that absorbs stuff and given it barrier blocker or whatever, that matchup definitely would have been more difficult for me. I think he took more of the aggressive route, and that kind of cost him. Round 4, Mecha. Again, you know, everyone's trying to play it because it's potentially getting hit. I won that one. They saw, I think, maybe two to three U9 assembles. Still managed to burn them down. So that was a pretty good matchup for me. Feeling pretty confident going into that. I went against a Mecha again in round 5. Won that one. Getting pretty familiar with the matchup. And it's definitely a matchup that I tested a lot against during in testing. Just have to not tap out basically for the U9 to get to stop as much draw as possible. They're going to U9 assemble, and if they do, then they do. That's all right. Round 6, King Vegeta. It was a red-green variant. I remember the guy, he played Piccolo, the Eradicator, the 2-drop on turn 2. I freezed it because I had a Demigo on board, and from there it was just kind of easy sailing and cleaned him out by like turn 3. Round 7, played against that Broly. Yep, our guy Boris. That was almost the longest game of the day, apart from the last round. I think we were all getting pretty tired by then. But that was a really good game. Boris absolutely cleaned me out. That Broly, really difficult this matchup. Draws way too many cards, and obviously it benefits from its cards being in the drop area. And finally, I played against our boy Big O Notation. I'll have a link to his deck profile as well. He played Blue Berzerk, and that was probably the most insane game that we've ever played. It got to a point, I think at one point, I think it might have been turn 3, maybe. I was on 1 life, he was on 6. I think maybe that was about turn 3, and from there we got to about turn 7. Neither of us really had any cards left in hand. We were kind of both of us playing off the top decks. And yeah, somehow I managed to take him from 6 to 0 while I stayed on 1, just surviving from basically top decks, top 1 or 2 decks. That was an insanely fun game. I was an insanely good player, so it was definitely a difficult one. But I think at the end of the day, hand control going into blue is always going to have a great time. Berzerk, you know, cares less because it's using stuff from its energy as long as it gets it there. I think the main thing was that he didn't see any of his unisons that he was looking for. So that was quite unfortunate for him. But really fun game. And that was basically to try to determine which of us had a better chance of getting into top 16. If he'd have won, would he have got top 16? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But yeah, I ended up, after round 8, I was 6-2 and came 17th. Just bubbled out, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a really good day. This deck is incredibly fun, for me at least. Maybe not for my opponents. There's definitely a few angry people through the day. But that's just hand control, isn't it? It's definitely my favourite type of deck to play, favourite archetype. You know, been a long time Slug player, run the Slug's Army page. Cell hand control's always been great. And even like for the fun deck that I built, Green Announcer hand control, obviously. But yeah, I just thought I'd give a quick rundown in case anybody was interested in what a Cell Surge hand control deck looks like. And yeah, I'll probably be bringing it to the next one as well. Or I might not, I might switch up. We'll see. Anything else? Deckplanet, DBS Deckplanet, thank you all very much for helping me test. I know my teammates also did fairly well through the day, breaking into at least the top 25%. Good job, guys. We'll get them next time. And of course, thank you very much to Nick of Team Berzerk as well for helping me very much with the testing and the deck idea itself. Great guys at Team Berzerk. Yeah, and thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.